does take some time to get through the St. Vincent airport due to it being a small airport on a small island. It took us about an hour to get through the entire process and to get onto the Sandals vehicle. Once you do get into the Sandals vehicle, it'll take approximately about another hour to actually get to the resort because the road is quite windy and you gotta go pretty slow on it. But it does make for some spectacular views along the way. To start off, we'll take you through a quick room tour. We had the Lady Palm Swim Up, which had a 75-inch TV and a mini media room. It also had a mini bar, which of course was unlimited restocking. And it had 2 bathtubs, one inside and one outside, as well as the pool that you can swim up to your room to in. If you are going for your honeymoon, make sure you let them know so you can get a nice bottle of champagne on ice when you arrive and love written out on the bed with hearts. Next up, we're going to talk a little bit about the resort. It's quite extensive, and this is why I feel like they have some bikes because there is a lot to see and do here. For starters, just as you saw, you can stay with this swim-up pool. There's even a river that you can stay next to. You can stay in a villa by the beach where you have your own pool. There's many options in this area. Of course, when staying at the resort, especially in the Caribbean, you're going to want to cool off and maybe have a drink. So, there are 4 pools that you can actually go do this at, and we'll go into more details later on in this video. And speaking of drinks in a pool, there's also, from my count, about 7 bars here, which we'll also go into more details, and about 11 restaurants, which are something important that I actually want to tell you about later on in this video as well about. In terms of land and water sports, they do have a games pavilion, and this is right in the middle of the resort where they're going to have many activities actually usually at night around 8 to 9 p.m. They have a fitness center, they'll have tennis courts and pickleball, and they also have an aqua center, and we'll get into all of this again later on in the video. One good thing to know is they do have a resort shop, so if you need some extra sunscreen, you run out, you need bug repellent, you need medicine, or souvenirs, they definitely have Make sure too to check out the beach and grab a chair early. When we first went, it wasn't at full capacity, but even as the time there went on, it was about 75% capacity at the resort and all the chairs started to be taken. So if you want to get a chair on the beach, definitely get there early and set out your towel. Chapels are a really cool place as well to go and just chill out and take in a view of the resort from a different perspective. We went at night all the times and it was very relaxing. We took a drink over, just sat in the chair and listened to the waves crash. There's overwater bungalows, and they're the only ones in the Southern Caribbean. One thing to make everyone aware of is there are stray dogs, so if you're a dog lover, it's really great. If not, they're really friendly, so they're not going to bother you. Our biggest advice is just to take in the resort and just take the time to walk around or bike around it. There's a lot of cool hidden spots, like the pavilion by the river. There's ponds within the resort, like hidden within all the little huts that you can stay in. So we highly recommend just like really soaking in the resort and enjoying it. Last but not least, don't forget to grab those Insta or Facebook photos, and if you want the professional ones, it'll cost you at least $20 a photo. And they do also offer photo packages. The photo session is free, by the way. You just have to pay for them if you want them. There's various pools here at the resort as mentioned earlier, and if you're looking for a quiet pool with no music and very laid back with views of the mountain, the heart-shaped pool is going to be your place. Now, the closest bar is quite a walk. I'd say probably like a good 3-minute walk, and every once in a while someone will come over and take drink orders, but that can take a bit as well. But if you want something nice and secluded, this is going to be the place. The crescent pool is like a good in between a party pool and a quiet pool like the heart-shaped pool. It's just off to the side of the main pool. You can still hear the music and kind of see all the action, but you also still kind of get that seclusion. Now, if you're looking to party a bit, the main pool is going to be the place to be. They have a pool bar here, and they got 2 TVs where now you can actually watch sporting games, so that was really nice when the Mavericks were in the playoffs. They also do a lot of activities here. They have pool volleyball. They'll bring the cornhole boards over sometimes to play some cornhole. So if you also want to mingle, this is a good place to meet some people and mingle. Last but not least is the parasol pool, which is actually the double infinity pools that overlook the ocean, and it's right next to the beach club where you can go get lunch and have some drinks. So it's a really convenient spot as well. But I will say the chairs go very quickly here. Next up is activities at the resort. If you don't feel like going on an excursion or don't want to spend extra money, there's plenty to do if you stay at the resort. Like the Red Lane Spa. They have couples massages, facials, and all kinds of other massage things. We did the Himalayan rock massage and we highly recommend it. Also, if you want to do some sports, they have shuffleboard, they have ping pong, and they have cornhole. When we went about the 3rd week of May, they still had the tennis and pickleball courts under construction. Some other land activities include biking. They leave the bikes throughout the resort, so whenever you just see a bike with nothing on it, just feel free to take it. Now, if land sports isn't your thing, there's also some water sports that you can enjoy at the resort, including kayaking, and they also have clear kayaking, which you can see through the kayak, though it's kind of hard to see anything, to be honest. And I didn't really see any 1-seaters either for the kayaks. They usually involve 2 seats. If you did want to do something more solo in a way, they do have paddle boards as well, and there's also sailboats that you can sail. The cool thing is the Aqua Center can actually give you sailing lessons if you don't know how to sail, and they'll teach you how to snorkel and scuba dive, which the resort also offers for free, where they'll take you out on a boat on certain days. And if that isn't enough, they also have big yellow circle rings that you can float in and have a drink and take in the view of the resort with the mountains in the background. And just be aware there were some type of jellyfish that kind of stung us, is what the locals said they were. We weren't really sure, but it went away after a couple hours, so it wasn't a big deal. If your heart and wallet desires, you can also get a private candlelight dinner. But if the candlelight flame isn't enough fire for you, they also have free entertainment that they provide, including people shooting fire out their mouth, or as though it seems. There's 11 restaurants at this resort, but there's a caveat for dinner. But before we get into dinner, let's start with breakfast and room service. It'll take about 40 minutes to an hour for it to arrive, but it was honestly really good. The bacon, the fruit, and they even have bread. Sora, which you will hear a lot, has a breakfast buffet where they make you omelets on the spot. You can tell them how you want it, and they also have many other options. If you're trying to wake up after a long night or maybe a hangover, you can go over to the Blum Coffee Shop. It's a nice, cute little shop, and they have all sorts of coffees. Alright, so now you've had breakfast, you've been out drinking, doing some activities, and your tummy's starting to rumble and you're trying to figure out what to do for lunch. Well, you could do pizza or salad, as they have that there as well. You can head on over to the Jerk Shack, where they had some really good chicken, grab a cocktail as well. And if that doesn't float your boat, then you can head over to the Parasol Beach Club, where they had really good burgers and they had these like banana chips. So there's plenty of options to choose for lunch. So overall, there's 3 places to eat for lunch. I did say there is a lot of options, and by that I mean go to the Parasol Beach Club because they have a good variety. Otherwise, it's pizza, chicken, or salad. And now we're gonna come full circle back to the dinner. So there's 5 places you can eat for dinner. Caveat is 2 of those you do have to reservation, which one of them is the Butch Place. The other one is Bequa or Bequa, which is the family style. And we honestly didn't do that because we didn't want to have to pass food around and talk to the people since we're on our honeymoon. And the food in general just didn't look appetizing to us like fish head. The Butch's Place did have really good steak. It's like your typical kind of Texas Roadhouse place. So now let's get into the other places where you don't need a reservation. Now you may be thinking, oh, well, there's still 3 places. Why is he talking about there's not a lot of places and there's a caveat? Well, I have some dietary restrictions, as do most people, and your other options are Gatsu, which is a sushi place with, raw fish. But they did have some other options, just not a whole lot that was non-fish related. The other option is Scrimshaw, which is mainly seafood, which we are not the biggest fans of either. So that boils down to really just one place we ate for dinner the entire time, which was Sora. Now you may say, whoa Chris, what about that pizza place? Well, guess what? No, you cannot eat that till 10 p.m., okay? That's your late night snack. So these are your options. Now, Sora was a good place. It's an Italian food restaurant. Their meatballs were honestly the best meatballs we've ever had. And we've been to Italy, so please don't get offended if you're from Italy. But they had other options like the chicken parmesan, which was really good. If you can't get a reservation to the steakhouse, which happened to a lot of people, they do have a New York ribeye, which was also delicious. And the espresso martinis were the best here out of any place. All of the appetizers and the desserts here were very good. Now for the late night dessert is going to be crema, which has also coffee, but this has the ice cream. And to win some points back from the Italians, the ice cream is definitely better in Italy. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. And the only other option for a late night snack again would be the pizza place as mentioned earlier. Next up, the most important part of an all-inclusive resort is the bars. First up is the Parasail Beach Bar, and in the name, it's on the beach. You got a nice view of the ocean with the infinity pools, and this bar probably has some of the strongest drinks. Next up is the Three Jewels Rum Club Bar something, because for some reason it's not on their map. But this is a good spot to go at night, especially if you're looking for a nice martini. Next up, we have the Swim Up Bar, which this was the most entertaining of all the bars because they got the TVs as mentioned earlier, and the bartenders love to dance, and you're in a pool as well, swimming. Of course, there's many other bars. There's the bar at the plaza, there's an actual beach bar that's on the beach, and you can pretty much go up to any restaurant and grab a cocktail. Next up, we'll talk about the excursions. We did 2 separate excursions when in St. Vincent, and we'll start off with the Volcano Sunset Cruise. To get things started, some things it includes is transfer from the resort as you take a small dinghy to a nice catamaran, and it includes drinks and some snacks. It'll also be about 2.5 hours, and that's excluding the transfer. This was actually a really great excursion as we made our way down the southern coast and towards the volcano, which we ended up seeing about halfway through the journey. Now before you get to the volcano, you get to see some really cool things along the way that the tour guide had pointed out to us, including seeing some spots where they filmed Pirates of the Caribbean. Now one of them was this rock where 3 pirates were hanging, another one is a coconut grove where Johnny Depp was running on top of a wheel, and the other people. And not only that, we'd never seen Pirates of the Caribbean. So at the time, we're like, oh, that sounds cool. So it actually inspired us, and we ended up watching all of them. So we highly recommend watching Pirates of the Caribbean if you end up going on this excursion. We didn't get to see the sunset though due to the clouds, but we got to see the beautiful hues of purple and pink in the sky, and we got a surprise of seeing hundreds of dolphins. It was really hard to choose videos to show the dolphins because we had so much of it, because we were following the dolphins for about a good 20 minutes, and there were literally hundreds of them. We were riding up underneath them at one point, the dolphins were doing flips. It was honestly so much better than seeing the sunset. On the way back, it was really amazing as well, as you could see how tiny the resort actually was on St. Vincent, and you got to see it from a different angle. It does take a couple of trips to get everyone back to the resort, so we were actually one of the last groups, so we could stay on and just enjoy the view a little bit longer. Our next excursion was Mustique and Bequia island hopping experience. Coming up, I'm going to go over some reasons of why this was actually one of our least favorite excursions that we've ever done. To start off on why this is one of our least favorite excursions we've ever done, it was almost $300 a person to do, which is the most expensive excursion that we have ever done. Although it was an expensive excursion, it was 6 hours, and we got free drinks as well as a free lunch, which I'll get into more later on in this video. One thing to note is that it does take a while to get to the initial island, so if you get seasick, make sure you take medication before getting on this trip. Luckily, when we got on this boat, we didn't have to take a dinghy. They did have stairs that we took from the beach, but watch your head, as a couple of people bonked their heads. And we were supposed to stop on the uninhabited island of Petite Naville to snorkel, but we ended up not doing that for some reason, and we went straight to Mustique, which is why I want to say it took about an hour before we got to the first stop. Once you do get to Mustique, it is very beautiful, and there's all kinds of different celebrity residences, which the tour guide points out. I wasn't overly interested in who lived in the island because I don't really care, but the architecture of the houses was actually really cool to see. We aren't really big on shopping when we do travel, but I do want to note that when they say they're shopping and they say quaint shopping, they actually do mean quaint shopping. We saw maybe one shop while we were here. Basil's bar, which is a highlight on this excursion, was actually really cool. You do get one complimentary drink, which includes a beer or non-alcoholic beverage. There's other options that you can pay for yourself if you want some like hardcore liquor. This place is known for actually having celebrity clientele like Robert Downey Jr. Unfortunately, we didn't see him when we were there, but it was still really cool. And one of the reasons why this was one of our least favorite excursions was the snorkeling aspect. So because we already had skipped Petite Naville, which is supposed to have some really good snorkeling, we then went to the next destination, which is Mustique, which is supposed to have good snorkeling as well. But it was alright in our opinion. We've seen a lot better snorkeling in St. Thomas, Hawaii, and many other places. That doesn't go without saying though, there were definitely some highlights while snorkeling. Some people did see some sea turtles, Brittany saw a spiky stingray thing, and she also chased around a lot of fish along the way as well. And if snorkeling isn't your thing, you can hang back at the Basil's bar, drink some more, you can walk around a little bit. There was this like cool temple that I saw while walking around, and the beach is really beautiful, so you can always just lay on the beach and work on your tan. But remember to wear sunscreen. The sunscreen aspect is actually really important because this is the only time we got sunburned while at the resort, because we snorkeled here at Britannia Bay for over an hour. After snorkeling here for an hour, you're probably going to be hungry at this point. So this is where the complimentary lunch is actually going to come into play. As you cruise up to Princess Margaret's Beach, you'll pass hundreds of sailboats, which is really eye-catching. Once you do get to Princess Margaret's Beach, you have now arrived on Bequa Island. And this is where you'll have your complimentary lunch, with there's a couple options to choose from. I know there was like different seafood options. We got what was called Mexican chicken, and it was actually really good. You also get a complimentary drink here as well, whether it's alcohol or non-alcohol. Once you're done eating, you can actually go ahead and do the Princess Margaret Trail, which isn't too long. We didn't actually go up the part where you start going upstairs. We just went along the boardwalk, and it had tons of life. It was teeming with different sea life. I had a little bird that was holding onto a rock looking for something to eat. There's all kinds of stuff over there. But in terms of snorkeling, they actually didn't give out any snorkeling gear. We had brought our own, so we snorkeled a little bit on this beach. But again, there wasn't really anything here to see at all, especially compared to the last stop. So if you do finish lunch early, you can either do the walk or you can just chill out on the beach for a bit. On the way back, you do get to pass by what is called Moon Hole, which is this really cool kind of like building etched in the side of a cave, and they kind of refer to it as something like off the Flintstones. If you want to learn more about it, feel free to Google it. It is pretty cool, but there isn't too much other than just sailing by.